Just kidding. What's up, you guys? Say howdy, stay rowdy. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. This week's tutorial is how I made this Mombie cup. For all the super moms out there running on caffeine, chaos, and messy buns, I am going to show you how I made this cup. You will find the list of all the products that I used in the description along with my discount codes. I am using a 32-ounce Plump from Tipsy Magnolia. The vinyl is from Danielle Spencer exclusive, and when I saw these two prints, I knew I could pair them together and come up with something totally awesome. So I chose this Mombie Rock On vinyl and the Brains vinyl, and I'm gonna do a half and half design. First thing I'm gonna do is remove the bottom of my tumbler. This is one thing I love about the Tipsy Magnolia tumblers, is you can pop the booty out. So I'm using this little flathead, I guess you could say screwdriver. It's a tiny little kit I purchased off of Amazon. Once I've removed the bottom, I'm going to move on to prepping my tumbler. I'm going to give it a really good sand. Once I'm done sanding, I am going to clean my tumbler with my 70% isopropyl alcohol and a paper towel. I am going to add my tumbler insert, and then I'm going to move on to mapping out my vinyl. I start off by laying the vinyl over the tumbler. I want a little bit of rim showing so the epoxy has something to adhere to, and I'm going to eyeball where the middle point would be. So I'm actually going to flip my vinyl around and reposition it, find that middle point, and then I'm going to take a pin and mark where I want to cut my vinyl. Using my paper cutter, I am going to cut along the line that I made. I'll grab my cup and lay the vinyl over it one more time just to make sure that I have half of the cup covered. It looks good to me. I do have this overhang, but I will cut it. Now I need the other half of vinyl. So taking the Brains vinyl, I am going to take the Mombie vinyl and lay it over the Brains vinyl. Then I'll take my pin and mark the Brains vinyl. And repeating the process, cutting along the line with my paper cutter. Same concept with the Brains vinyl. I'm going to wrap it around my tumbler to make sure that half of the cup is covered, and then I'm going to take the Mombie vinyl and line these two up together to make sure that my cup is entirely covered. And both of my seams meet, so I'm ready to move on to the next step. Starting with the Brains vinyl, I am going to use the hinge method to apply the vinyl to my tumbler. I'll lay the vinyl on the tumbler using the area that still has the paper backing. Once I feel that my vinyl is lined up along that rim, I will take my thumb and burnish the vinyl onto the tumbler. Once that's nice and adhered, I will lay my cup in my cup cradle, which just makes it easier to apply the vinyl. I will prop up that paper backing and use my squeegee to burnish the rest of the vinyl onto the cup. For this overhang, I am going to stretch and pull the vinyl over the bottom rim. Then I'll take my Xacto knife and trace along the bottom rim. And I will repeat the process with the Mombie vinyl, this time lining up the Mombie vinyl with the Brains vinyl. I do want a tiny overlap so I don't have any stainless steel showing. I do apologize for getting out of frame. I was in the zone and simply trying to see what I was doing, but you get the gist. Here's how it's looking. Both of my seams match up. It's coming together beautifully. I actually have a little more overhang on one of the seams than I would like. So I'm going to take my Xacto knife and trace along the seam to remove some of that excess overlap. Now that I've trimmed off the excess overlap, I'm taking my thumb and burnishing the seams to make sure that everything is adhered. This is how we're looking, and I am in awe. I love that my vision is coming to life. If you haven't noticed, I am not using glitter on this cup. But what I am going to use to bring some shimmer is Iris, which is a Celestial Luster by Adhesive Apothecary. Celestial Lusters are a shimmer sealer. In my last video, I shared how amazing Binding Potion is, so now take that up a notch by adding shimmer. Same as Binding Potion, you can seal your glitter, vinyl, pinstriping, foils, decals. You're just taking it to the next realm by adding that shimmer. After generously coating my tumbler, look at this with the flash on. This is stunning. Iris really is that girl. After allowing that to dry, I am now going in with my first coat of epoxy. I'm using the Glitter Guys Fast Cast, and because my cup is all vinyl, I only needed 20 mLs. Once I've finished coating my tumbler, I will take my propane torch and lightly feather over it to pop any air bubbles. Here's Iris with the flash on and under epoxy. Chef's kiss. After that has cured, I will take my 80 grit medium sanding block and sand any imperfections. I like to do this little pet test where I pet my cup and feel around for any bumps that I would like to sand down. Once I'm satisfied with that, I am going to take my isopropyl alcohol, spray it down, and wipe away any of that sanding dust. I do want to clean up this rim, so I will be using my Dremel Lite to sand the rim. Then I'll take my Xacto knife and clean up any of the product that may have gotten on the inside of the cup. Now she's nice, smooth, and ready for the next step. I created my decal in Cricut Design Space. I had this cool drippy font, so I wrote out Mombie with an offset, and I chose color coordinating vinyl. For my pinstriping, I did the same thing, so I created an offset. I will be laying down this maroon color and then the lime green over it. Now that I've got my pinstriping on there and I have that little bit of overhang, I'm going to take my Xacto knife and trim that off. Moving on to the Mombie decal, I've laid some painter's tape right along my pinstriping so I know that it's straight. You will also see that I drew a line horizontal on the cup. I used an Expo marker, and this is to help me apply this decal as straight as humanly possible. I will take my transfer tape and apply my Mombie offset. If your transfer tape has these graded lines, a tip to help make sure that you apply your decal straight is to make sure that one of the lines is lined up with the top of your decal. Now I'm just going to eyeball it until I think that it's straight and then apply the decal to my tumbler. Once I'm confident with the placement of my decal, I will take my thumb and burnish it to my cup. I will then remove my painter's tape, and then I'm going to remove the transfer tape. And then I will apply the green Mombie over my offset. Now that I've got my decal on there, I am going to take some isopurple alcohol and spray this paper towel, and then I'm going to erase my Expo marker. Here comes the fun part. Let's do our drip. So I will be using this medicine cup my crystal cast from the Glitter Guy. I will be using Wizard, which is a Cauldron Color from Adhesive Apothecary. It's a paint, primer, and adhesive. And my signature product for my drips, Nice and Thick from Counterculture DIY. I am going to mix 10 mLs, so 5 mLs of part A and 5 mLs of part B. We are going to mix this until clear, making sure to scrape the sides and the bottoms and mix thoroughly. Once that's thoroughly mixed, I am going to add my Wizard Cauldron Color. And we are going to mix that thoroughly. After mixing, I decided I wanted a little more pigment, so I added just a little bit more of the Wizard. Once I was happy with my pigment, it's now time to add the Nice and Thick. Nice and Thick is an additive to your epoxy to help thicken it, which is why I love utilizing this product when I make my drips. To heck with having to wait for your epoxy to thicken, just add this Nice and Thick and you will be ready within minutes. Using Nice and Thick is an add as you go, so I started off with 2 scoops and I'm going to add 2 more. And you'll repeat this process until you're happy with the consistency. I like to go for a peanut butter consistency. Now that I'm satisfied with the consistency, I'm ready to move on to my drip. I'm going to take a generous dollop and start applying this to the rim of my cup. And I will repeat this process until I've made it all the way around the rim. I will take my butane torch and lightly feather over the drip. This is going to pop any air bubbles and create just a little bit of movement. I like to tap the bottom of the cup on my hand, forcing the epoxy to drip. And I will do this a couple of times until I'm happy with the results. Yeah, that's a dreamy drip right there. And I like to take my finger and just run it across the rim. This is going to help having to Xacto knife it or sand it later. So with medium to moderate pressure, I'm just pressing down against the rim and collecting any excess epoxy. I think it's perfect and I'm really happy with the way this turned out, so now I'm going to allow this to dry overnight. I totally forgot to record this step, but before leaving it alone for the night, I actually went in with my binding potion and I sealed my decal and pinstriping. I got as close up to the drip as possible. I did not touch it, but I wanted to seal these, that way when it's all cured, I can coat it with epoxy. Now that this is cured, this is where I'm at. I absolutely love the way this drip turned out. The decal pulls it all together. I'm obsessed. Look at that rim. Okay, let's go ahead and get her under epoxy. For this coat, I will be using the Fast Cast again. I have mixed 20 mLs. 10 mLs part A, 10 mLs part B. Now I'm going to generously coat my tumbler. Here's a tip for my makers who struggle with pulling around the drip. I like to firmly press my finger up against the drip, pushing and spreading the epoxy evenly. I will also take my finger and drag the epoxy away from the drip towards the middle of the tumbler. There's no need to put an excessive amount because that's where it's going to pool and then you're going to struggle with air bubbles and you're not going to get an even distribution. So once you feel that you have your drip evenly coated, then you'll pull any excess epoxy away from that drip and then finish coating your tumbler as normal. Make sure you're getting your bottom and top rims very well. You gotta find that happy medium, not too much, not too little. You don't want too much because you'll get the bubble butts or bubble rim, and you don't want too little because if you heat it up too much when feathering over it with your torch, you'll create fish eyes. So just be sure to find that happy medium. Once I'm done coating with epoxy, I will take my propane torch and feather over it lightly to pop any air bubbles. A tip if you struggle with air bubbles is allow your cup to spin for just a few minutes. Because I'm using fast cast, I can't let it sit too long, but I'll let it spin for a little bit and then I'll hit it with my torch one more time. Again, these are light feathers. I do not want to burn my drip. And then I allow that to cure. Now that that has cured, here's where I'm at. The Glitter Guy shine is unmatched. I am loving this cup so much. I'm going to do my pet test and feel for any bumps that I want to sand because this next coat of epoxy is, fingers crossed, my last and final coat. So after feeling around, I am just going to take my 80 grit medium sanding block and just lightly buff any areas that I want smooth. Once I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to go in with my Dremel Lite and clean up the rim. I want this to be smooth, so as I took my finger over that drip, there was just a few rough spots, so I just lightly sand those down. Once I'm done sanding, I'm going to spray the cup with the isopurple alcohol and wipe it down thoroughly. Once I was done, I used Crystal Cast from the Glitter Guy and applied my last and final coat of epoxy. My goofy goober self got excited and started doing this bottom rim without recording, so let me catch you up. The outer rim I used TGG Pink, and the middle portion is Radioactive, both from the Glitter Guy. And I am mixing these with UV resin from Counterculture DIY. After pouring my UV resin in there, I'm going to take my butane torch and pop any air bubbles. Then I'll take my Sun UV lamp and cure this for 60 seconds. I like to prop my UV lamp with whatever's closest, and this time it was 3 tumblers, so I used those to hold my lamp. I'm going to cure this for 2 more 60-second rounds, totaling to a cure time of 3 minutes. When that's done, it will be warm to the touch, so I'm going to allow this to cool before adding my branding sticker. Once it's cool to the touch, I am going to brand the bottom of my cup. I made my branding stickers using the Glitter Guys Build Your Own Gang sheet. I just uploaded my file, selected how big I wanted my sheet. In this case, I did a 12 by 24, and I have my stickers set at 1.75 inches. They print it and ship it, and then I get to brand my cups. Once I've branded my cup, I will be going in with UV resin to coat my sticker. I will hit it with my propane torch to pop any air bubbles, and then I will cure this for a total of 3 minutes. Once that's cured, she's done. Let's take her outside. I am going to dread listing this on my website. I really want to keep it for myself. I love the way that this turned out. If you liked this video or even found a few tips or tricks helpful, be sure to give me a like and even subscribe. I'm here for you every week. I also accept tutorial requests, so be sure to leave those in the comments. You can also join the herd on my other social media platforms. And here's a surprise if you've made it this far. Here is a fail that I've included, and I want your opinion. Could you even tell that my cup was a mess up? So along with my vinyl from DSE, I also got the matching decal, but your girl done messed it up. So enjoy this video of how I completely ruined this cup and did everything in my power to save it. So once you're done watching, please leave a comment and let me know. Would you have been able to tell if I didn't show you this part? I'm actually glad that I messed it up because in this round I did black offset and I'm actually happier with the maroon offset. So, you know, things do happen for a reason. This is where it all went wrong. I tried to skip a very important step. I did not add my nice and thick. So ultimately, my epoxy dripped and ran way too far. It ruined my decal. It was bubbly. It separated from the rim. It was awful. So enjoy me doing my typical steps, hoping for a good outcome, and completely ruining this cup. Cover your eyes, y'all. Look at this mess. What is this? I'm repulsed. Look at it separating from the rim. Look at the bubbles. Look how far it ran down. Yeah. So we're gonna get rid of this. I took my Xacto knife and started scraping my life away. After getting the majority of the epoxy drip off, I started sanding my life away. Pretty sure I gained like 7 new muscles and worked muscles I didn't even know I had. Hopefully I accounted for my workout today. After I finished all of that sanding, I wiped it down with my isopropyl alcohol and completely started over. So here's a recap on how I did my drip the second time. This time, not leaving out the most important part, nice and thick.